Super
We are the Bears, shuffling through, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good. Blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl shuffle.
Well, they call me Sweetness, and I like to dance. Running the ball is like making more mans. We had the goal since training camp to give Chicago a Super Bowl champ. And we're not doing this because we're greedy. The Bears are doing it to feed the needy. We didn't come here to look for trouble. We just come here to do the Super Bowl shuffle.
This is Speedy Willie, and I'm world class. I like running, but I love to get the pass. I practice all day and dance all night. I gotta get ready for the Sunday fight. Now, I'm as smooth as a chocolate swirl. I dance a little funky, so watch me, girl. There's no one here that does it like me. My Super Bowl shuffle will set you free.
I'm Samurai Mike, I stop 'em cold. Part of the defense, big and bold. I've been jamming for quite a while, doing what's right and setting the style. Give me a chance, I'll rock you good. Nobody in my neighborhood. I didn't come here looking.
Is it weird that I didn't realize how far into the song we were? I was just over here grooving along.
You aren't the only one, trust me.
All right. Good evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening, and welcome to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
Sports and referee, apparently.
Yes, and because I know I'm going to need it, I will have my flag ready to throw on any sort of plays.
Save that for the parlay, because something tells me there's going to be a lot of over-talking and just whenever necessary. I'm your host. I am the voice of reason. Allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Let me get a little bit more light over here. There I go. Yeah, that's from last night's. I probably need to change that. If you would be so kind. Next to me, the HNIC of the NANP and the anchor man. That becomes very relevant here in a few moments. The DSDO, the man of a million nicknames, Erik Watkins.
Stay classy, NANN, NANPN. Yeah, even though I'm the program director, I still got to get with a certain someone whose name is blue for a reason about the acronym, because both of them are equally as catchy.
I feel HNIC of the NANP works because it rhymes. The C and the P rhyme, and that makes it pop for me. Stop it.
Nope.
Family show.
I'm gonna call a flag on myself. Yeah, nah.
Throw the hat because you were out of bounds.
Well, I can't. I have to go and get the hat, so I can't do that.
I don't have my hat either. But all right, so as you guys know, this will be the 5th annual, I believe, Superb Owl edition of the Broadhurst-Watkins. Well, I mean, technically it goes back to the kickoff, but the first one here under the moniker of the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white. Ha. The parlay cometh.
It does indeed. As 20 different tasks and suggestions have been set aside and annotated for us to make bold, dumb, stupid, and somewhat fragrant predictions for a little bit later on. I believe the the Chiron that we have for this is statements that will not hold up well under scrutiny.
Yep, I can pull that up.
I believe is the Chiron.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But before we do that, since we have a little bit of time to kill before our cohorts here on the Superb Owl join us, we figured we'd give you a little bit of a sports news desk. Kind of going back into the all sports edition of BWSR here. And with that being said, I send you over to your anchor man, Erik Watkins.
Well, to start off with this story, you know it's like an old trope of television and movies. Will they? Won't they? The dramatic moment, the epic scene where everything gets sorted.
Wait. We're talking Aaron Rodgers again?
Not yet. Apparently, he's still got to go on that darkness retreat?
He's off in a dark room. If I gave up Olivia Munn, I'd be locking myself in a dark room too.
I mean, all things considered, you're not wrong. And I will have an interesting story about her ability to speak Japanese. But that's beside the point.
This Sunday on Point of Viewer. Continue.
So, the infamous will they, won't they that is occurring is not one Aaron Rodgers, but two universities, namely Oklahoma and Texas. First, they agreed that they would leave for the greener pastures of the SEC. Then they go decide that, oh no, it's too much of a buyout. We'll go ahead and fulfill our obligations in the Big 12. Well, deals were done. Numbers were crunched. And this year, it's potentially one for the Big 12 road for the Sooners and Longhorns.
I feel like we were just talking about the fact that they were staying the last time we did a news desk. Actually, it wasn't even a news desk. It was a So That Happened topic.
Yes, it was.
It was my So That Happened topic, as a matter of fact.
Yes, it was.
Oklahoma and Texas have agreed in principle to pay the Big 12 Conference a total of $100 million to join the SEC in 2024, a year earlier than they had originally intended, the Big 12 announced on Thursday evening. The agreement is subject to final approval, but that's all, folks, from the Oklahoma and Texas governing boards, while the price tag, a fee that the league is describing as foregone distributable revenues, seems like a hefty amount to pay for the early exit. Both schools are expected to be able to partially offset the cost with future revenues. So here's my question for this. I think the obvious answer for this for me for Texas is to keep the Longhorn Network for a season. Because then you can get distribution rights with Longhorn Network and subsidize to other cities in the area by allowing them to air Texas sports and make some of that money back that you're paying out here.
Primarily a DFW, yes.
Oklahoma, I don't necessarily know that they would have that same option, given the fact that they were a part of the Big 12 network, which was associated through ESPN Plus and Fox and everything. As of recent, I mean, some of the games had started to sneak their way onto ESPN as well, just due to the overlap of how many games there were and how few time slots that Fox had.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, with Oklahoma, nowadays with the Big 12 having expanded to include teams in Utah, Ohio, and then as far south as your native Florida with the Central Florida Bulls, or not Bulls,
Knights.
Golden Knights, thank you. The Central Florida Knights coming over there, as well as Houston as well, which makes geographical sense.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
With the expansion of the Big 12 in general there, I don't necessarily know that losing Oklahoma and Texas is as big of a hit as it might have been beforehand, especially when it comes to college basketball. College football, you're losing two of the biggest marquee programs ever in the sport, and there's no replacing that, regardless of how good Cincinnati and Central Florida have been lately, and regardless of the historical value that a BYU provides. College basketball-wise, I think that you're going to be okay in terms of Cincinnati, BYU, Houston, and Central Florida. Cincinnati and BYU specifically.
Absolutely. And if you're looking at really the money market, your big driving sports, you mentioned those two, football and basketball. I think especially when it comes to the football calculus side of things, Oklahoma knows we're going to be getting that SEC money. We're going to be getting that SEC network money. And we've got a good shot at making one of the at-large bids in an expanded playoff come 2024.
The year that they jump to the SEC is the year that the college football playoff expands to 12.
Precisely. And with Texas, I think that was even more of a bigger calculus as well. One last season with the Longhorn Network. Before that folds, they're also going to be joining into the SEC network as well. So those bigger pieces of the pie, especially with the SEC deals, it's not going to take them long to make this money back. I would give it, say, especially if they split it 50-50, maybe 3 years at the most. So
Well,
it's palatable.
let's also not forget about like NIL deals and stuff too, and the ability to draw marquee players in. And I'm sure the universities are probably going to get a cut of some of that money as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because again, with the NIL deals, with the boosters coming in and all of that, that goes to the schools, a lot of it individually, if they budget accordingly. Anything more than that, not to say greasing the right palms, but greasing a couple of palms, let's just call it for what it is. So they're not really going to be hurting too much. And I think they timed this deal excellently for them, so that way when they go ahead and shift gears, everything falls into place.
Yeah, I don't believe that this hurts Oklahoma and Texas at all. And like I said,
Mm-mm.
in terms of college basketball, I think the Big 12 will be okay. It'll be interesting to see if the Big 12 is able to recover from losing its two stalwart collegiate programs. So, because for as much as they may want to rely on a couple of schools that have had recent successes, like a BYU, like a Cincinnati, like a Central Florida, when it comes to tradition in college football, there's no replacing Boomer Sooner and Hook'em Horns.
Not at all. And the Pac-12 is going to find themselves in the same boat once USC and UCLA leave. And the
I
fact
would
that
I would say that
they're go ahead.
I was going to say I would say that affects them more in college basketball, because while USC and UCLA have had football success historically, UCLA has been a basketball school.
Right. And this is the big thing in that front, because not just for football and basketball, but more for your Olympic sports, UCLA has really been at the top of the heap. However,
Gymnastics.
right. However, with the interesting news that's come from the scoop, the fact that there are already talks for the Pac-12 to expand a little bit farther south and, more importantly, eastwards themselves, now you're going to see them taking a page out of the Big 12's playbook, and this next wave of realignment that's going to be coming over the next 3 to 5 years just got a little bit bigger.
If I'm the Pac-12, I'm looking at the Mountain West.
There actually are, with one of the big favorites being San Diego State.
San Diego State, Boise State would be high on my radar if I'm the Pac-12 as well. And if I'm looking to expand collegiately in terms of basketball, then I'm looking at the West Coast Conference, and I'm trying to take St. Mary's and Gonzaga.
I mean, those would be fantastic fits, and they could still potentially happen, but it'll be interesting to see exactly how far eastward the Pac-12 decides to go. If they go ahead and shore up pretty much your western seaboard with the schools that you mentioned, then they would be set.
Yeah, the curiosity would be is whether they take the Big 12 route of going all the way as far east as Florida and as far north as Ohio. All right. We had a second story that came out today where apparently somebody got a little lawsuit happy.
Yeah. Apparently,
before we tread any further in this, this is not our accusations. This is not our theories. This is not our equivocations. This is merely us giving our opinion about what is going on in the Mississippi story and the case of the money laundering scandal that is currently with one Brett Favre. Continue.
And apparently, in the mind of Brett Favre, if you say things like, when you quote, stealing from the lowest of the low, a la Shannon Sharp, or being a thief and stealing money from those who need it, a la Pat McAfee, that kind of hurts his own feelings to the point to where he's like, wait a minute, I'm just going to go ahead and sue. And if I'm going to add my personal opinion on this, if he's going to sue the likes of those sports personalities, fantastic in their own right, about something like this, I would, in all circumstances, avoid the latest episode of Game Theory with Bomani Jones that came out on HBO. I'm just saying.
I have a question. Is it technically slander if it's true?
No. And this is the thing about it. As you would say, like with the two things, liable and slander, when you can't prove it or what is spoken and what is written. And the fact that these are ongoing litigation with much more proof, including direct communiques between Brett Favre and some of the top brass at the University of Southern Mississippi's alma mater and the governor of Mississippi at the time, that's getting a little bit more of an airtight case. So
I'm not trying to get, I mean, I'm a nobody in the grand scheme of things. I'm not trying to catch a lawsuit out of this here, but I was informed a long time ago when I was young that if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck.
all I'm saying is this: you give my ass some 1.1 million to make a speech, I'm going to make that speech one way or another. You may not like it. I may not be the best of conditions, but I'm at least going to take that seriously. Apparently, I'm in the minority in that sense. Yeah, I said it. What, you think you're throwing the flag on that one?
Offside. All right. Yeah, with the interest of not getting myself sued in the process here, all I'm going to say is I hope for a quick and speedy resolution, and I will remind Brett Favre that freedom of speech is still a thing.
Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences.
Okay, but again...
No, I get it, but what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that and say what they said was an error. What I'm saying is, especially with you can go ahead and sue, but with these people, these agencies, and these networks having high-powered lawyers, and the news story that you find yourself in, you better be careful before you start talking to attorneys your damn self.
My only issue is what does this do to the state of professional journalism in this country when you have to run the risk of people getting sued over statements that they make on their shows, a la Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and a la the Pat McAfee show over on YouTube for the brand?
And I think that I'm not going to say that this is a watershed moment because it isn't, because we are in the era of, as we would say, the new media. It's not really new anymore. But the fact that you still have these levels of ethics and standards and saying, okay, we're going to report on this based on what we know, what is public information and things that are going on. You're going to have that level of covering your ass. And I think because you have all of this top representation, you're going to see that more often. So I'm sure when these statements were made, asses were covered appropriately.
Oh, I would have to think so.
I'm in the minority of people of not being informed when shows go on the air that is, you're still making a run in. We're just waiting for the four of us to all get together.
Yeah, and somebody's trying to tell us to start the show, which we've been on the air already for 18 minutes because I told him we'd take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody pinging someone and construction hell and all this and that. Yeah.
All right, so without going too in-depth into the story, because it looks like the Superb Hour is about to get underway, history was made yesterday. That's right. I'm taking over as the anchor man.
Okay, you say history. Go on.
In 1993. Yeah, we're getting into our Wayback Machines here. The University of Connecticut women's basketball team lost in the Big East tournament.
Okay.
And then proceeded to lose in the first round of the NCAA women's tournament.
Oh boy, not a good end to that season.
Back-to-back losses. Fast forward to yesterday. February 8th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The University of Connecticut women's basketball team lost to Marquette 59-53. The first time they've ever lost to the University of Marquette in women's basketball.
And it comes off a little ignominious.
And it comes on the heels of an overtime loss to the number one ranked team in the country, Dawn Staley, South Carolina Gamecocks. I don't know what they call the women's game, South Carolina women's basketball team. I don't imagine it's the Gamecocks, though. The Game Hens?
I think it still is, and I am going to shut up before I have to throw another flag on myself. So do continue.
Very well. Which means for the first time in 30 years, the University of Connecticut's women's basketball team lost back-to-back games.
Oh, Gino. Wow.
Okay, but can I just point out that is like some John Wooden-esque levels of dominance going on over there in stores?
I mean, look at how many national championship rings the man's got in the meantime. And that's just counting UConn, lest we forget what he's done with USA women's basketball at the Olympics and such.
Multiple gold medals under Gino Auriemma.
When you talk about people just not losing, I mean, oy.
They have the all-time women's record. I think it's like 104 in a row.
104 in a row, and it got to the point to where if you were going to bet on the women's tournament, it was legit. UConn, the field. Take your pick.
Excuse me. Sorry, I had steak for dinner, and I'm kind of paying for that decision digestively right now. But what I was going to say was, with regards to the UConn story there as well, when you think about that and put that into a men's perspective here, the men's record is like 78 by UCLA or 77 by UCLA.
I thought it was only 74. I'm going to double check that.
Regardless, the men's record is in the 70s. That's a full season extra worth of games, basically.
Oh,
I thought it was either 76 or 77.
Oh, I am checking. Wait, it might. No, I think it's longer than that.
Erik is currently looking up the John Wooden UCLA record. I know it was the team in the 70s that won like back-to-back titles over the course of like 4 years.
Nope, I remember the number now. It was 88 because the 71-72 team went undefeated. The 72-73 team went undefeated. And it was finally Digger, Phelps, and Notre Dame that beat them in 74. 88 games.
And didn't they win like 7 national titles that decade?
7 or 8, yes.
Like it was, and this is what I was talking about, going back to our earlier conversation with UCLA's pending jump to the Big Ten. This is what's going to cost the Pac-12 when it comes to college basketball importance here, because you losing USC in college basketball isn't that big of a deal. I mean, USC is having a very strong season this year, and over recent years, they've been better than in the past. But historically, UCLA has been a national power in college basketball for, going all the way back to the 60s and 70s.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you had guys like, your Lou Alcindors and
better known as now former NBA all-time leading high scorer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And your Bill Waltons and guys of that ilk. So a lot of all-time talent on those teams. So it's amazing that you take that record, tack on another half season in essence, and get to this UConn women's record, which also on the women's side, all-time talent during this run in their own right.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the team. Those were teams with like Deanna Taurasi and Sue Bird.
Correct.
Who have a handful of WNBA championships between them as well.
And Taurasi signing up for one more season, if I saw correctly.
I believe Bird just retired, yes?
She did, yes.
Because I think I saw something about one of the mid-2000s WNBA championship Minnesota teams is now finally completely retired from the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest.
The last of the Mohicans.
I'll be honest, I don't really watch the WNBA. It is absolutely nothing personal. I don't watch professional basketball in general. It is not because it is a women's thing.
Yeah, for me, and as I told my story about watching like the OG WNBA games back in the day with my sister, basketball and myself is just kind of outside the big three. Fan controlled hoops, you're getting a shot, but that's about it.
I mean, I'll watch the big three here and there. I'll watch the NBA here and there. And we do have an NBA story if we have time to get to it. I'm not sure if we do. It might require to be one of the primary stories on the return to the all sports edition of BWSR. But for me, I'm a collegiate basketball person just because college basketball, it's always more about the name on the front of the jersey than it is about the one on the back. You're playing for school pride and school atmosphere. Like, the NBA is cool, and I know a lot of people are NBA fans, but there is no NBA experiences that matches watching a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium or watching a game at the Fog in Lawrence, Kansas, or watching a game in Pauley Pavilion for UCLA. There's no NBA experience that matches that.
I mean, again, you're not wrong. I mean, if you were to go back in the day to Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, or the old Forum out in Inglewood, yeah, you would get those experiences. But let's face it, those days are long gone.
All right, are we going to pause for the cause briefly?
Well, because I am trying to go ahead and herd cats because, as someone mentioned about having some splaining to do, if a certain someone would go ahead and check Discord, especially our staff-specific Discord channel, which, by the way, the Not a Network Discord, yes, someone whose name is Blue for a reason, has been going on and doing an audit and fixing some bugs, still open to the public. Link on our Twitter, twitter.com/notanetworkpods. Come in, have fun, hang out, get to know us. Our craziness and shenanigans all are welcome.
The man whose name is Blue for a reason is saying that him and the other guest for the Superb Owl should come in together. I'm responding to him that we did a sports news desk to tide over because said other person had to finish working for the day.
And speaking of that, and it would be a kind of a fitting time to wrap this up.
But wait, there's more.
Not the only interesting, as you could put it, situation going on at UConn.
Dun dun dun. We got to work it in somewhere.
Dramatic doggo. Now, for those, as you had said, with experiences in certain arenas, if you were to go to a UConn women's game to watch them just run rough shot, yeah, you would have to go to the XL Center.
Which is in Bridgeport, Connecticut, I believe.
Hartford, Connecticut, actually.
Hartford, Connecticut. Well, the campus is in Stores, which I think is like an hour away or something like that.
Yes. Now, you had mentioned campus and Stores. Arena in Hartford.
STORRS for those wondering. Stores. Continue.
A little bit inconvenient, as you mentioned. With inconvenience comes a price tag. So, to play just one game at the XL Center, what would you think that would cost the university?
Now, is it the men's and the women's teams that play at XL or just the women's?
Men's and women's, yes.
Okay, so if we're talking one night specifically in order to get both games in.
And sometimes, remember, they don't go back to back because they don't have it. So
I would have to think 15, 20 grand in order to get like the staff and everything together for it.
According to the university, one basketball game at the XL Center costs UConn $60,000 to $70,000.
Good grief.
UConn spent approximately $4 million competing at the XL Center and Pratt & Whitney Stadium in the 2021-22. Now, times are tough, and you've got state-funded institutions. With state-funded institutions come budgets. Come budgets become budget changes and proposals. Now, according to some of the top brass, as a matter of fact, President Dr. Radenka Maric, if the current budget was enacted as proposed, the budget would leave the university with a shortfall of nearly $160 million next year. Now, you would think, even as a private or even as a public institution, you would have to pass those costs on regrettably somehow. That would be passed on to the students.
Well, technically speaking, it's not a private university, though. It's a state-funded university.
Right, but again, still having to pass on those costs to the
Of course.
tune of a $3,000 rise in tuition. Because of that, and because of already, many would say, exorbitant collegiate tuition prices, the university is like, we might need to make some changes. So the XL Center might be getting two fewer tenants in the seasons to come.
I would have to think that with a program as historic as Connecticut is, dominance in women's college basketball, a pair, I think maybe even a trio of men's national championships, at least two that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to think that they have an on-campus basketball arena.
I believe that on-campus is the Pratt & Whitney.
Would this be a situation where you take the money that you're dedicating to that particular engagement with the Excel Center and just put it towards renovations and expansions for the on-campus stadium?
Well, I would think so, because as you see here, Pratt & Whitney, that is their football field. So I do wonder if they do have something on campus, because they definitely should. I'm double checking this because it seems a bit peculiar if they don't, as you mentioned. Athletics, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Harry A. Gamble Pavilion.
Okay. And to also clarify, 4 men's national championships.
I knew it was at least 3.
Yep, 99, 04, 2011, and 2014.
So what I'm seeing here is Gamble Pavilion is the on-campus, and its capacity is approximately 10,167.
So you would only need some mild renovations to it, especially since it was expanded in the summer of 96. They broke ground in the summer of 87, opened in 1990. Yeah, I think that with the amount of money that you would be spending to compete elsewhere, take about $1 million or so of that and put that towards, over a span of a few years, renovations towards the pavilion. I don't think that was bad.
According to a Google search here, with the how many games does UConn play at the Excel Center, the men's basketball team this year will play 8 games at the Excel Center and 9 on campus at Gamble Pavilion. Why not just eliminate the middleman and get rid of the games at the Excel Center and just run those games at Gamble Pavilion? I understand the idea of wanting to play to a bigger crowd at the Excel Center, but you're eliminating travel expenses, you're eliminating the expenses of having to pay arena staff there, and you're condensing the ticket sales and everything to which you can keep all of the money from the revenue sales in pocket by having it happen at the on-campus facility with the janitorial staff you're already paying in the first place.
Plus, there's a reason why that magic number at the XL Center is 8. Under NCAA rules, if you play at an off-campus arena more than 8 times in a single season...
We talked about this for Gonzaga with the games in Spokane.
Exactly.
Continue.
As we mentioned then, you are ineligible to play games in that arena in the NCAA tournament. So if you were to play all of your games at Gamble Pavilion, the XL Center for men's and women's teams would both be in play every single year. More so for the women's teams because, if you're at a point to where you're winning, exactly, if you're at a point to where you're winning 111 games in a row, you're pretty much a lock to go to the tournament and be a 1 seed. Now, I do believe that does bring the end to the news desk, as we have at least one certain someone who has arrived.
I believe both of them are here. I think the one is having technical difficulties, if I'm not mistaken.
Somehow that wouldn't surprise me.
Yo, Doug, I heard you like a parlay, so we're going to parlay about your parlay.
I read it.
No, this isn't Reddit, Eric.
You know what? Unsportsmanlike pun on Nielsen, 15 yards and a first down.
Well, it goes back to, as I've said earlier, that's offside. All right.
So
we have a few moments. Unfortunately, the man whose name is blue for a reason has to restart, so he'll be joining us momentarily here. So the good news was, let's talk to our resident Florida Gator fan here since we have some time to kill. The good news is 2 weeks ago, it was Gators and Tennessee on the campus at the University of Florida at Billy Donovan Court, and the number 2 team in the country went down. The Gators were not so fortunate yesterday. Playing the number 3 team in the country, Alabama, on the road, the final score was 97-0. Nice.
Murder.
Wow.
Murder.
Yeah, they got their asses whooped.
I mean, well, at least you finish on a nice score in a blowout. I mean, it's not entirely bad.
13-11 for the Florida Gators men's basketball teams, but wins over 2 different top 10 programs this year. I'll ask you, as a resident Gator fan, and probably someone who is moderately biased, admittedly. I know I am as well.
Oh, definitely biased. I mean, hello.
How many wins is it going to take for this Florida team to make the NCAA tournament?
How many wins to make the dance?
I mean, if this was the Big Ten, the answer is like 18, because last year 18-11 Indiana got in. So
yeah, I wouldn't necessarily put a win count on it, but I'd say maybe a very nice win percentage that might be just a hair under 70.
Okay, that's not going to work for at-large bids because, again, Indiana went 18-11 last year and got in.
So it's 18 out of 29.
It's less than 60%. It's a little over 60%. It's like 62, 63%.
18 over 29.
Interesting.
Calculator, why are you failing me? 62%.
Yeah, 62, 63, like I said.
So, out of 29 games still, or out of 30?
Depends on how far they go in the SEC tournament. I would make the argument that the Gators are going to have to win at least 3 games in the SEC tournament to have a chance.
I'd agree.
Now, I will interrupt.
I do just have to say one thing, though. Glad I'm not on old Rocky Top.
Now, I will
The
just
calculator has failed
interject.
you because you know more than the calculator.
Hush your mouth. I was working with the maths for 13 hours straight. You could suck it.
I'm going
Mr.
to
Name
interject.
Family show.
Oh, Mr. Davis blew for.
I will interject momentarily and say, according to Joe Lunardi in bracketology, because, well, as the man whose name is Blue for a reason would know, I know a thing or two about bracketology. Your Gators are currently the first 4 out.
Well, that was before the loss to Bama, though. I don't necessarily think losing to Bama is bad. I think losing the way we lost to Alabama is bad, though.
Yeah, and especially with the fact that at that same time that they were the 1 seed in the Midwest bracket, maybe
you'll get a little bit more. You'll get a little bit more. I mean, they are the number 3 ranked team in the country. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit more leniency there. I'm not denying that, but at the same time, you get blown out in a game that you desperately need because, again, 13-10 coming into that game, 13-11 now. Gators play again on Saturday as the road to the SEC tournament continues the first 2 weeks of March. We're getting towards the end of the college basketball season here, and my concern here as a Gator fan, I'm very strongly suspicious that it's going to be the NIT for a second year in a row for Florida. And this is a Florida team that got bounced in the second round of the NIT last year by Xavier. Xavier, of course, on a much better run this year and definite candidates to make the NCAA tournament. Erik, your Hurricanes are doing quite well, however, having just beaten yet another ranked opponent in the ACC.
If I may, one thing about the NIT, before I go back to Eating on Air, which is not a network exclusive.
We don't do the shticks here on this show.
Oh, sorry. As long as it's not University of Florida versus University of North Florida in the NIT, I'm okay.
See, they love those. They love those kind of matchups, though, especially given the fact that the NIT likes to do the on-campus first and second round games.
Yeah, but puts my alma mater against my alma mater, and that puts me in an awkward spot.
Have you seen the way the Ospreys are going this season? You don't have to worry.
Well, they did just beat Jacksonville, though.
Yeah, both okay. Yes, they won the River City Rumble fine. The Dolphins are 12-12. And the fact that with that, both teams here are 5-8 in the A-Sun. 5-8.
That's not great.
Yeah, and Ospreys themselves, they ain't been swooping. 10-15.
Oof. Gonna need a run in the conference tournament to make the dance again.
I'll say.
How's everybody?
Run in for me instead.
How's everybody's favorite Atlantic Sun team doing? Florida Gulf Coast.
They actually just beat UNF tonight, and that also puts them in a 3-way tie at 5-8 in conference. However, overall, they're the best of the 3 at 15-11.
Who's the A-Sun leaders? And then we'll go ahead and move on to the Superb.
By a half game, Liberty beating, oddly enough, that team in second place, the Kennesaw State Owls.
Where the fuck is Kennesaw State?
I want to say...
My knowledge of team nicknames extends only to football for Division I.
Georgia. They're up in Georgia.
Okay.
That makes sense from my old residence hall work days in the undergrad era.
I'm still dwelling on something else here. What the heck is this mess about? We don't do gimmicks on this show?
When it's me and Erik, we don't. We have our own show gimmicks.
Well, guess what? I got a gimmick for you, Harry Broadhurst. Konnichiwa, bitches!
I mean, he did just crash. It is appropriate. All right, everybody. It is officially time for the 6th annual and first on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
He's sitting right next to you. You stepped on his line. That's
really?
outside. That's, yep. Points for accuracy.
Didn't even plan that one. Yeah.
Points for accuracy.
Offside on the Andy over here. 5-yard penalty.
The Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in
black and white.
God damn it, Nielsen! Shut the hell up!
Does that offset my penalty from earlier?
No, it's an additional one on you. that poor Drape is taking an ass whooping on this
Good
episode.
thing that these are wooden blinds.
Anyways, all right. So, like I was saying, it is time for the 6th annual Superb Owl Parlay.
I don't know
Mr.
why that made me pop, but Harry saying ass whooping, I just lost it.
You can hear more about ass whoopings over on Split. Never mind. Save the shtick for later.
Oh, no. You are not allowed to pull out halfway through a shtick.
We'll save the shtick for later.
Freezing?
They can hear more about Spoiler Alert here on the Not a Network Podcast Network with myself and the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Harry Broadhurst, Wednesday nights at 10:30.
I can't even. I can't even.
I've lost control of my life. I know exactly how Stu feels now. All right, back to it. So,
Play the Stu clip. Okay. God damn it! Where's the Stu clip?
I don't think it's in here.
Apparently, it isn't.
It's not, because we've only mentioned it once before, and we went into the other folder to grab it. So the idea behind the Superb Owl Parlay is there are 20 different things that people can bet on throughout the course of the Super Bowl. We just combine them into one gigantic parlay and hope for the best, more or less. Obviously, we're not going to get all 20 correct. I think the record is, 13?
Thereabouts.
So points are awarded on a sliding scale. Get a prediction correct, get a point. Get it wrong, get nothing. Certain questions have bonus points. We'll talk about those when we get to them. Mr. Watkins and I will go back and forth announcing the categories on air and making our predictions as we announce them, because I have not put anything into the document. I had no intention on revealing any of my predictions until we did the Superb Owl.
Same here.
Mr.
Opposite here.
Mr. Watkins, I will allow you to go first in picking the category that you want to start with for the 2023 Superb Owl here on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
This one has been one of my personal favorites.
No, it's okay. We've already overdone the shtick. It's fine. Let it go. Let him finish. Let him cook.
Give me a flag! Give me a flag!
Wait. Why are you requesting a flag? What was the penalty? What was the penalty?
Harry Broadhurst just said let him cook.
I did. It's because he overused it on 4 seconds, the pilot that aired on Monday.
Yep, there is no foul on the play. We continue.
Damn,
the pick,
fucking
the,
ref
the
ball.
And
Fucking ref ball.
much like the real referees, apparently ours suck too. There you go, Andesian.
Fucking ref ball.
Look, I will hit stick you, okay? If you get
He will
my
hit stick
way.
you like you're 11 years old.
I would like to see you try to hit stick me, buddy.
All right, let's
He
get to
will
it.
get involved in this like a WWE guest referee.
You're gonna be the 11-year-old on the end of that hit stick, buddy. I promise you that one.
All right, Watkins, let's get started here. Pick your first category, sir.
One of my personal favorites, one of the ones that I always break out my stopwatch for, and I make sure I get my timing nanosecond perfect. Length of the national anthem. The line this year, over or under 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Since Nielsen is chewing, I'll start with Espinoza.
Oh, good. I'm glad you picked me first, because this is the one I actually did my research on.
There was research to be done for this?
I didn't see. I didn't. Whoa. You know what? No. Flag on the play.
What the hell is this ref ball bullshit?
I did not see official research face. You're going to have some explaining to do. Oh.
Lucy?
You got some splaining to do, Lucy.
Somewhere Ricky Ricardo is rolling over in his grave. All right, continue, Espinoza.
Somewhere I'm rolling over in my grave and I'm not even dead yet.
Imani Padre, Carry on.
I'm going to go with the under on that one. The average performance of the national anthem at the Super Bowl is 1 minute and 56 seconds.
Okay, who's singing it this year?
I don't know, but as long as it's not Alicia Keys, I'm fine.
Ho 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 ho!
Coach's challenge. Insufficient research. That's a penalty.
Well, I mean, I already threw the flag for the research phase, so I can't go ahead and double dip on this one.
Who is singing the national anthem this year? Because I honestly don't know. As Watkins has Google face, as we call it here on the podcast.
Who the hell is Chris Stapleton?
He's a country music singer, which means I'm still taking the over because country singers tend to go on.
Yeah, they're going to linger that note and show off in the desert, so I'm going over.
Nielsen?
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Since I've been interrupted, which is a meme on my shows, go figure. I have a question.
Goddamn phone.
Is it possible to say neither over nor under, but exacta?
They do not give official odds for the exacta. It would be considered a push.
Then call me crazy.
You're crazy.
Thank you. I will see you at the end of that anthem in hopefully 2 and 2.
I'm throwing a flag on that one just on general principle, because really?
I mean, I'll give them credit. Since we're recording the rebirth right after we're done with BWSR, I'll give them credit for it.
But that was
Let it go. Let's move on. All right, we're actually going to go to one of
wagers.
We're actually going to go to one of my favorite categories next here. We're going to the USA Today ad meter.
Okay.
And for my prediction here, for the ad meter, what company has the commercial that wins the ad meter? I'm going with Snickers. Because traditionally, Snickers has been a very safe bet. Rest in peace, Betty White. Mr. Watkins.
You know, you talk about tried and true bets, and you talk about safe options. Somewhat pun intended, they've kind of turned themselves into a bit of a dark horse the last couple of years.
Budweiser?
I think with the reemergence, I think that now we fully come out of our, as a certain YouTuber would say, the past few years. Coming out of this, I think they're really going to be with a bang this year. And yes, I am going Budweiser.
Mr. Espinoza.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to repeat that because I had to step away for a moment.
The winner of the USA Today ad meter for the Super Bowl commercials. You're picking the company that wins it, not necessarily the commercial itself.
Oh, that's...
Reason better have been delicious, because I'll give you a warning about delay of podcast.
Especially, I got to be back at work at 10 in the morning tomorrow.
Do I need to come back to you later in the show for this one?
Give me a few minutes to cook on that.
Fine. Nielsen?
Yep. Pepsi for Super Bowl.
Pepsi for podcast.
This is a Coke podcast, sir. Get the fuck out.
Oh, we're going to have a Cola War on 4 seconds then.
Mr. Watkins, you get to pick the third category. Remember, saving the actual in-games for the end.
Now for this one, you wouldn't expect too many people to still be gambling on this, but Naturally, me being the degenerate that I am, the actual coin toss for this one, you could say that I'm going kind of against the grain. I'm going to pick tails on this one. I think it's going to land tails.
Send it to somebody else.
Mr. Nielsen, while he's eating on air, which is, of course, not a network gimmick exclusive. Yeah, he's indicating heads.
Pick somebody to send it to. He's pointing to his right, which would be me. I'm going to agree with Mr. Watkins. I want to say tails. Mr. Espinoza.
I don't know. Flip a coin. Tell me what it says.
Look, I'm trying to go easy on you here, okay?
That poor curtain is not going to survive this podcast.
Like I said, thankfully these are wooden blinds and they can take a pounding. More on.
Family show!
Be glad we're not talking about let's make a deal after the show is over.
I mean, technically we are.
Just pick a heads or tails, Brian, please. Exacerbated podcast host is exacerbated.
I'm gonna go with, I don't know, fuck it, heads. I don't know.
All right. So this is my favorite one that I proposed, so I'm gonna go with this one here. And I am officially dubbing it the Brett Maher special. Will we see a missed extra point? My prediction is yes, and the reason I say that is because Butker has shanked a couple of them this postseason. Mr. Nielsen. Mr. Nielsen.
Sorry, I was clearing a mouthful of food there that was very delicious and eaten on air.
Man, these people are cheap.
Because the see, I looked at the line, right?
No is favored $1.23 to 1.
On the total score of this game, which in my opinion is rather high.
We'll get to that later.
We will. But I think with the amount of touchdowns scored, the increased likelihood of a missed extra point goes up. Therefore, I am in agreement with you that there shall be an extra point that might go wide left, for example.
Did the math major just statistically probability my ass?
Yes.
It didn't take so long for me to go into stat mode.
That happened. All right, Mr. Espinoza.
Yes, so that did indeed happen.
Indeed. No Chiron.
Yeah, playing it simple. Yeah, he's gonna miss one.
I mean, between Butker or Elliott, it has to be one of the two of them. And I'm thinking Butker's the most likely of the two candidates, in my opinion, because Elliott's usually been pretty straightforward most of the season. But Elliott's had a couple of shaky games himself.
Wait, is Elliott the backup or is Elliott the other guy? Because I can't remember.
Elliott's the kicker for Philadelphia, Jake Elliott.
I thought we were going on just Butker, because if it's just Butker, that's guaranteed.
No,
it's both.
Either of them.
Well, either way, it's guaranteed. Butker's going to fuck one up.
All right, so we're all in. Mr. Watkins, are you putting us in mutual agreement for this one?
Believe it or not, I am going to go on an island, and here's why. Yes.
Shooketh.
I know, right?
Even though Butker has had his misses as far as extra points, what's happened? He's gone ahead and corrected himself. Just like he did for missing 50-yarders, what does he do in the playoffs? He starts making 50-yard field goals. I don't think we see a missed extra point in this one. I don't.
Do you have a prediction ready for ad meter winner, Brian?
Part of me says go with alcohol or food.
I mean, that's pretty much everyone else here. Well, technically, John's pop, which isn't alcohol, but I went food. I said Snickers.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Uber Eats.
Okay.
Uber would be acceptable in and of itself. The Eats is an additional bonus.
Well, I mean,
All right.
Uber Eats would probably want to be the ones to cater to the Super Bowl. So
Fair.
People ain't gonna want to leave their TVs. Solid choice.
All right, Mr. Watkins, you're up.
Okay. Trying to think of the other non-in-game ones that we have here. However, since we went ahead with the Brent Maher special,
Whoever changed my title, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, that was me. You're welcome. So for this one, and I am going to throw it to the spoiler alert, guys, as I have mentioned. It is from time to time that the site of the Super Bowl also hosts WrestleMania. Is it not?
it's happened in the past.
Now,
SoFi Stadium is actually where they're at this year in Phoenix has hosted WrestleMania in the past. SoFi Stadium, the site of last year's Super Bowl, hosts this year's WrestleMania.
so going back as the encyclopedia that you are, Mr. Broadhurst, you are very familiar with the character Doink the Clown.
That's hilarious, given what we spoke about recently.
Literally yesterday. Yes, I am very familiar with Matt Bourne, Steve Lombardi, and then Ray Apollo and a couple other different people. Yes.
So, I propose this. In honor of these events colliding as they do, will there be an appearance of Doink the Clown in the form of a Doink extra point
Or field goal.
or field goal?
I see where he went with this. All right, give him a damn monkey. Mutter, mutter, mutter. Clever son of a bitch. Mutter, mutter, mutter.
Fairly,
Hey!
fairly certain the monkey originated on this show. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I think we see an outright miss from Butker for the extra point, like I talked about earlier, but I don't think anybody hits an upright. We also how the missed extra point is the Brett Maher rule. You might as well officially call this one the Cody Parkey rule, because this became a category the year of the double doink when Parkey hit both the left upright and the crossbar on a kick and still missed it.
Bears fans are still never going to live that one down.
Nope.
Mr. Espinoza.
Are we going to get a doink? That's a good question. I think we will. I think we're going to get a doink because somebody misses a kick.
Well, if the kick misses, that doesn't count. It has to actually clang off an upright or the crossbar. Just missing a kick doesn't count.
Question. Does a doink and through count as a doink?
Yes.
So wait, what the hell are we? What the hell is the definition of a
Will
doink?
somebody hit a crossbar or one of the uprights with a kick?
Yeah, but you can hit the kick and still miss it. Like you can doink it and miss it. Like that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yes.
so the idea is either way. If it hits the upright and goes in, or if it hits the upright and bounces out, it still counts as a Cody
And that's what I'm
Parkey.
saying. I'm saying we're going to see a doink, but it's going to be because of a miss.
So you're saying a clang and out. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Mr. Nielsen.
Clang and in.
Mr. Watkins, you pick the category. You wrap us up.
clang and a miss on a clutch field goal. The spirit of Cody Parkey will live on.
Fair enough. All right, I think everything else is in-game specific, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, I take that back, but I want to save that for last.
Okay.
Because that's my favorite goofy question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to it here. Let's start with our first score. Bonus point for the team, but the type of score is the question.
So
I am
going type of first score. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Bonus point for the team.
Okay.
I am going to say it will be a Philadelphia field goal by Jake Elliott. Mr. Nielsen.
I have typed my responses in early. However, I reserve the right to change them live here because they're not set in stone yet.
True.
Put me on a very strange island.
Ah, damn it. It's not
Almost as rare as going 10 spins on Bonus Island.
Uh-oh.
Because I think something very unusual is going to happen. Safety.
Has happened before.
Yes, it has.
You guys can't see my Super Bowl decoration.
And I think it is going to be a Philly safety.
Well, that would be special.
Give that man the monkey. He's earned it. And I'm going to put... Now, here's the question. I think it's going to be probably punter out the back of the end zone for KC. So when it comes to first scorer...
Safety is sufficient.
But when it comes to first scorer... That's
no, the first scorer will be the first person to get into the end zone.
First touchdown scorer, then.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
That sports books traditionally only do first scorer for people getting into the end zone, so therefore our particular first scorer will be person getting into the end zone. Mr. Espinoza, who scores first and what type of score is it?
Give me Travis Kelce with a handoff pass.
So you're calling a touchdown, a Kansas City touchdown, and Kelce is the recipient of that touchdown.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, technically he answered two questions with one question there, but that's okay.
I do like the halfback pass.
I'll allow it.
Look, I don't understand what the fuck you're asking, so I'm telling you what I think the fuck you're asking.
What we were asking.
Specifically.
The type of first...
This is why you guys can't go first on these things, or why we can't go first on these things.
I went first and explained.
I didn't hear you. I was too busy.
Setting up your gimmick. Yes. I am aware.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice.
What, buddy?
Mine's official.
There's some pandering going on. Anyways, let's get back to it. Come on, guys.
I got a flag too, buddy.
For me, I'm going to agree with you, Harry, that it's going to be a field goal, but I'm going for the opposite side. I think Kansas City gets on the board first with a field goal.
Fair enough. Well, since Espinoza already gave us his answer, let's go ahead and segue right into it with the first touchdown scorer of the game. Espinoza says Kelce. Mr. Nielsen, I see your listing inside of the document. Based on that, I'm guessing you want to go next here because of who you have selected?
Yeah, I think Kelsey's going to run a sneak over the line. Well, it was like first and goal kind of scenarios.
That's what I'm thinking too. It's going to be like a first and goal or second and goal. Kelce will run it up the right side. And
I'm going to agree with you guys that it will be Kansas City into the end zone first. I don't think it'll be Travis Kelce, though. Marquez Valdez Scantlin
You're
You can
going.
just put it. You can just put MVS.
Okay, I kind of need to hear the reasoning on this one.
Because I think that the Philadelphia defense is going to focus on Travis Kelce and going to end up leaving one of the wide receivers uncovered. And it's either going to be Juju Smith-Schuster or it's going to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And of the two of them, I think Valdez-Scantling's coming in off of the better performance in the AFC title game where he had 8 catches for 116 yards.
Okay.
Oh, I don't-
Solid reasoning there.
I can't say I completely disagree with it. I think Schuster is probably their better wide receiver out of the two. So it makes sense they'd cover him.
Schuster's wide receiver 1 with Hardman out for the game. Go ahead, Eric. You're up. Your pick.
I am going to disagree entirely. As I've mentioned, I think the first score is going to be a Kansas City field goal. However, the first touchdown scorer
Wavelength. Devonta Smith.
No.
Ah, boo.
Right team, wrong player. One Kenneth Gainwell. Because I have a distinct
The backup running back.
Yes, and here's why. If you look at... hold on before you go and throw the flag, all right? If you look at the backfield prowess of the Philadelphia Eagles, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and Gainwell, all of them are going to get their fair share of touches, especially early on. Because even though Mahomes is still coming off of that ankle, which still isn't 100%, even though Travis Kelce is still dealing with his back, the mentality is going to be do what they've done the last couple weeks in the playoffs. Grind, keep your other guys on the bench. And I honestly think with that burst of speed against the, at times, so Kansas City run defense, I think Gainwell's going to be the guy to break it into the end zone. It's probably not going to be exactly a goal line situation, but probably between 5 and 10 yards out. He gets the burst. He goes in. My pick is Gainwell.
I could have sworn you were going to go wide receiver rather than running back. I almost picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire because it'll be his first game back in like almost 2 months. And I figure that they're going to want to try to get Edwards-Helaire involved early to offset the loss of Mecole Hardman. But I figured MVS was the more likely of the two options, in my opinion. You want to go ahead and finish up the last one in that section we haven't done, Eric?
So for that one, yeah. For this longest field goal, now I'm going to explain. On the sheet itself, we marked the actual line that you could bet on, which is 46.5 yards. However, for the sake of the superb Owl Super Parlay, we will accept a range. So under 29, 30 to 39, etc.
40 to 49,
Right.
50 to 54, 55 plus. Mr. Espinoza, I will start with you. I will not start with you because you're in the middle of chewing. Mr. Nielsen, I will start with you instead.
I don't think we're going to see any of the big, long field goals here, just a hunch. I think the longest we're going to see is in that 40 range, in the upper 40s, and it'll be a KC field goal.
I'm going to say 50 to 54. I think Elliott hits one from 53 yards out.
I originally said 49, like top end of the 40s.
Mr. Watkins?
I'm actually going to agree with John here. I think Butker, he's going to be good, but even though he's got momentum from 50 plus, they're not going to want to trust him from that far entirely. So I'll go Kansas City 40 to 49.
Not worth to risk it for that biscuit.
Mr. Espinoza, your prediction. U29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 54.
No, I know the
50
ranges. I'm just thinking for a second.
All right, just reiterating.
I think I'm going to go in the 30 to 39 range.
I mean, I can understand that because I do think at some point this is going to come down to a possession game where you're not going to want to risk going for a long field goal and missing and giving up excellent field position because these are two incredibly potent offenses.
Yeah, and that's kind of what my reasoning is like maybe it's going to be if I had to like try to put it on the nose, I like a 34-35. Like I don't think it's going to be anything super long.
Bucker or Elliott?
Oh.
Who? Is there an hour here?
Do they have to get it in, or does it just count for distance?
No, it's longest made
field goal.
Because I see longest field goal range, which is why I'm asking.
That's longest made field goal.
I'm going to give it to Philadelphia. I don't trust Butker enough.
So he's with me with Jake Elliott.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to group these three together because they kind of go together in the listing. Do you know which three I'm referring to, Mr. Watkins?
Leading passer, rusher, and receiver?
That would be correct, sir. I will go first here, and I will give you guys my predictions for each of these. So I think this game is going to end up being a shootout. Because, again, we talked about this. These are two very potent offenses. So I think that this is going to be a case of which team will be able to run the ball better will probably win because both teams can pass, even if Mahomes is less than 100% as he does so. The leading passer for me will be Patrick Mahomes because Jalen Hurts is more of a running back than a quarterback. Hurts has proven over the course of this postseason that he can stand and deliver when necessary. But of the two, I trust Mahomes in the postseason with the pressure on him to be a more accurate pass deliverer than I do Hurts. The leading rusher, however, what's the phrase that we have on this show, Mr. Watkins? Go big?
Go big or go homer?
Give me Miles Sanders. And for those wondering why that's a homer pick, Miles Sanders went to college at Penn State. Leading receiver? Devonta Smith. And for those wondering, the shakes were for, because he went to college at Alabama. Ugh. Exactly. Same reaction I had, Mr. Nelson. Bingo. I know your picks are already in, Jonathan, so I'll let you go next here. Leading passer, leading rusher, leading receiver.
See, I agree with you on the Philly quarterback point. I mean, Philly has had a history of rushing quarterbacks. Michael Vick being numero uno in that book. I think that tradition is going to continue for reasons you stated, but I've got no reason to argue against that line. Mahomes, Sanders, Kelsey.
Mr. Espinoza.
See, I'll take Mahomes and Kelsey for passer and receiver. For rusher, I'm honestly, I think I'm going to go back to a comment that was just made. Jalen Hurts is more of a running back than a quarterback. And I think I'm going to go for Hurts with leading rusher.
The only concern that I would have about that is Hurts is coming off of a pretty big shoulder injury, which a lot of people were questioning his participation. I know he sat out like several weeks of the regular season because of it.
So
and I think
Hurts,
that combined
Hurts.
with I think that
Unnecessary pun?
Unnecessary pun, too low-hanging fruit, 10-yard penalty.
Tough crowd.
I think this is going to be a primarily airborne game.
I would agree with that. I don't think the leading rusher hits triple digits.
So, with it being a primarily airborne game, the most of your rushing yards, I think, on Philadelphia's side is going to be Jalen Hurts, and on Kansas City's side is going to be Travis Kelce. But I don't. Yeah, I know that's a little bit of a hot take, but
I mean, given the fact that he's a tight end, yeah, I would say so.
Nope. We have something for this.
Statements that won't.
Yeah. I have a feeling there's some trick plays and some clever formations that are going to come out of Kansas City where
Kansas City's leading rusher will be Clyde Edwards-Helaire because they're going to want to integrate him into the game since this will be his first game back and he should be fresh. I still think that Miles Sanders outrushes him, though.
Either way, however you slice it, I think Philadelphia is going to want to keep that ball in the air. And if they can't get the ball in the air, Hurts is going to do what he always does, which is just tuck it and run.
Mr. Watkins, I couldn't help but notice what you just punched into the document, and it kind of made me smile a little bit.
Well, because I'm along that same line of reasoning, I have said the past couple of weeks, they're going to rely on Jalen Hurts in the passing game only when necessary. They're going to really control the ball. And of the running backs that I mentioned, I do think Sanders shoulders the biggest load. So expect him to have about an 80, 85-yard day. And I think that will be enough for leading rusher. However, when Jalen Hurts does throw, he's got his number one guy, that Alabama connection, a bit of a burner himself, Devontae Smith. I think if anybody's going to be primed to have a huge receiving day, it will be him because Philadelphia's offense is designed to thoroughly use the run, wear down a defense, and set up the pass.
In addition, I think that Kansas City is going to be more focused on A.J. Brown than they will be on Devontae as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that A.J. Brown has the reputation having come over as... Because A.J. Brown kind of has the reputation coming over from Tennessee of being a marquee big game wide receiver, even if he wasn't necessarily so big game against Cincinnati to close the season last year before he came over to the Eagles.
Precisely. And the fact that with how Casey is at corner, they're really going to want to pick their poison. And as I have said in different chats off air, they'll choose poorly.
Mr. Watkins, you get 3 here since I combined 3 together.
Well, I'm going to start with 2 that I am going to combine, and these are going to be the 2 over-unders still left on the board.
But
now,
the 2 wait, real quick before he continues, the 2 over-unders that are not the game total, these are self-implemented ones that we added ourselves.
So, for these, over-unders for turnovers combined and penalties combined in the game. So, over or under 2.5 total turnovers and 14.5 total penalties.
Okay, so we need a clarification here.
Uh-huh.
Penalties assessed or penalties accepted?
Penalties accepted.
All right, because that is a difference with a distinction.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you wish to go first for this particular category, Mr. Watkins?
Well, as I see someone who accurately put in their prediction and gave some exact numbers, I'm going to go ahead and go over to Mr. Nielsen.
So I do not think Arby's fans are going to be happy with the amount of turnovers they're going to get out of this game. I think the offenses are going to be fairly efficient. But 2.5, that is just too low. I'm going to go higher, but barely, picking the over at 3.
Okay, well, we had a ruling on the field from the assistant referee. Because of previous good memory with Arby's at a football game, I'm going to pick that flag up. No penalty on that pun. Second down.
And because of that clarification,
Goddamn
under on the penalties at 13.
Who are you sending it to, Nielsen?
Miss Broadhurst.
Under on the penalties. 2. And I will even add a bonus. One of them will be on special teams. A muffed punt or a muffed kickoff return.
Okay.
So we agree to the fact that there's going to be kicking shenanigans at some point.
There is chicanery afoot. As far as the 14.5 number for penalties, the referees have been making this postseason about themselves the entire postseason. They're going to go for as much screen time as they can get, whether we fans want them to or not. I'm saying over 14. And since you can't have half a penalty, that would put me at least 15. And I wouldn't be surprised to see somewhere in the neighborhood of like 17 or 18 combined accepted penalties. Mr. Espinoza.
So these are total penalties, so combined for both teams.
Correct.
Yes, penalties accepted. And turnovers combined 2.5.
Turnovers, I'm definitely gonna. Oh. This is total turnovers, right? These are both total.
Yes,
so not
both teams.
2.5 is a tough number.
It is.
I picked it for a reason.
Because I honestly think that both teams are going to turn over the ball once on downs because they're going to go for something on 4th and not get it.
Turnovers on downs do not count as a turnover.
We ain't in Canada.
It is only fumbles or interceptions.
Okay, so only fumbles and interceptions. Give me the under. That's easy. That makes it easy. Give me the under.
Turnovers on downs do not show up in a box score.
Like I said, we ain't in Canada. They do include those in the CFL as turnovers.
They don't even keep track of those on the box score anymore. I remember they used to.
Like if you go to the play-by-play coverage on ESPN, it'll say turnover on downs, but it's not officially a turnover.
Like I said, I know they used to.
It's like the Arby's is sold out.
And then how about overall total accepted penalties at 14.5?
See, that one's tough. I don't disagree with your assessment, Harry, that the refs are going to want as much screen time as possible. But I think at some point, some of these teams both of these teams are probably just not going to accept some of these penalties, especially if the penalty puts them in a less than ideal position or puts the opponent in a less than ideal position for the team. I think we're going to see a hell of a lot of flags thrown. You're not wrong. I don't know if we're going to see 15 accepted penalties, though.
Do you happen to know the number for last year's game, Mr. Watkins?
No, but if you give me a moment, I can pull that up.
I've got another question while you're in research mode.
All right, well,
is Mr. Hockley a part of the officiating crew, and has the officiating crew been announced?
The officiating crew.
I don't think Sean Hockley has got enough tenure to be considered for the Super Bowl yet.
The officiating crew has been announced, and I believe Espinosa is correct. I don't think Sean Hockley is part of the crew. I am, however, going to Google that while Erik is looking up the total combined accepted penalties last year.
Because I know for a fact there's a minimum amount of tenure you have to have as a head referee in order to be considered for the Super Bowl. John Hockley has like 7 years in the league or something like that, but he's only been a head referee for, I want to say 2 or 3 at this point, because they literally used him to replace his dad that was retiring. When Ed Hockley retired, they promoted his son to his head ref spot.
Carl Cheffers, Roy Ellison. Ow, damn it. Bit my tongue. Roy Ellison, Jarrett Phillips, and Jeff Bergman are your officials for this match. Mr. Watkins, do you have a number for me?
Wait. Say that again, because that doesn't sound like enough officials.
Carl Cheffers, Roy Ellison, Jarrett Phillips, and Jeff Bergman. It's a 4-man crew.
Isn't there supposed to be 6?
It's 4. Traditional games are 4. Sometimes they do 5 for a Super Bowl, but traditionally it's 4.
I'm still looking as far as the full-on box score.
I sit corrected. Mr. Espinosa is correct. It is an 8-man crew.
About to say, because it is normally an 8-man crew with all of the different judges and positions.
I sit corrected. Google didn't give the full listing. NFL.com does. Carl Cheffers referees. Roy Ellison is your umpire. Down judges Jarrett Phillips. Line judges Jeff Bergman. Those are the 4 that I had. Field judges John Jenkins. Side judges Eugene Hall. The back judge is Dino Paganelli. And the replay official is Mark Butterworth. 5 of the 8 referees have previous Super Bowl experience.
And to answer your question about last year's number of total accepted penalties, 6.
That makes it even easier for me to make my decision having heard that. Give me the under.
That was what? Rams 23-20 over Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr. Watkins, you close us out for these 2 categories.
So, I am going to go ahead and say for total number of turnovers, it's the under. You're not going to see a lot of real fumbles. And again, I'm going to agree in the fact that you're most likely going to have a turnover on a kick return of some sort. Kick or punt return. But with
I'm calling a muffed punt officially.
But when it comes to the number of penalties, Roger Goodell himself has come out and said that the officiating has been some of the best that he has ever seen. Given the state of officiating leading up to this, and the fact that that phrase came out of that man's mouth this close to the game, I'm going the over. I think realistically, especially if it gets chippy in the 4th quarter, you're going to start to see a bit of a flag fest. Give me the over.
Could I go out with my turnovers with an extra that I think is going to happen?
New title.
End of the first half, Hail Mary, pick. That's why I'm looking over.
Viable.
Very
all right,
viable.
Mr. Watkins, you get one more because I had 3 in a row.
Well, I am going to go with this one to complete this section. Defensive score. We talked about turnovers.
Let Nielsen go first.
Yeah, we talked about turnovers, so we see. Will that turnover be cast to immediate points, Mr. Nielsen?
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. Yeah, we're doing the safety dance. I said it earlier.
I'm going to pick that flag up.
How? He already made that punt. He was given credit for it.
No. Upon further review and referee's discussion, exact use of song was a unique pun for this particular game. and it goes into the fact that that song is used for safety scored in games. That was a legal pun. No penalty. No penalty. Second down.
I am also willing to allow this one to stand.
Fucking ref ball.
All right, Nielsen, who are you sending it to?
Sending it to the ref. Mr. Watkins.
The reason why I think we will, I'm looking at the Eagles' defensive line in particular, and the fact that they're running 10 deep, specifically 2 deep at every position. So you're going to see more guy appearances and more snaps by guys like Hassan Reddick, Damo Kansu. They've gotten the blueprint of what other teams did not do, getting to Mahomes and that ankle. I honestly think that we will see a defensive score, strip sack, fumble, return to the house. That's how I see it happening. Since someone wants to be all flag happy, Mr. Espinoza.
I resent that remark.
No, you resemble that remark.
No, I resent that remark.
Had to step away. Eric, could you summarize what you said?
Real quick, yes. So Philadelphia strip sack fumble return to the house.
Special teams doesn't count for defensive score, right?
It's listed as D/ST on the box score. In fantasy football, it would be considered a defensive/special team score.
In that case,
request category modification to clarify that.
Same difference. You have the safety anyway, so what difference does it make for you?
In that case, I am going to say yes. I think we're going to get a kick return taken back to the house.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
I feel like there will be a ton of offensive fireworks, but none of them will result in a score. All of the fireworks are going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. And honestly, I think these two defenses, for as good as they played during the regular season, are going to be outmatched against two of the best offenses in the NFL this season.
Enjoy your island.
I'm perfectly okay with it. I think that takes us to the Big Five, doesn't it, Mr. Watkins?
The Big Five and your
the outlier
favorite. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The Big Five and the outlier. We are intentionally saving the outlier for last.
Okay, I can dig it.
All right, let's do the three obvious ones together. Mr. Espinoza, I'll start with you.
Yeah, of course you would.
These are easy, I promise. Who wins? Is it over or under 51 points? And does Philadelphia cover 1.5 for the spread? Do not announce your final score yet.
I think the winner is going to be Kansas City.
Okay.
For as hot as Philadelphia has been this season, we've also seen them make some glaringly obvious mistakes in their very few amount of losses. And I think Philadelphia is a team that can be dismantled and analyzed by the right team. And I think Kansas City is the right team. Do I think they cover the spread? Yeah,
Well-
I'll see. I think
Well-
they cover the spread.
Well, yeah,
If
if you have Kansas City winning, then Kansas City
plus a
would cover
point and a
plus
half.
1.5. Yeah.
51 over under. Please do not announce your actual final score. That is
Yes,
one of
I
the later
know
categories.
I have the sheet open on another monitor.
I am revising my previously posted one, by the way.
Over under 51 total. See, that's tough because this game is either going to be a low-scoring defensive slogfest or it's going to be an absolute shootout. And I'm not sure which one I want to go with. Because if it's an absolute defensive slobber knocker, then there's no way that 51 covers. But if it's a shootout, then yeah, 51 probably be a walk in the park.
I have a very bold prediction for that 51 when it's my turn.
Okay.
You mean you got a bold move, Con? We'll see if it pays off.
This statement might not hold up well under scrutiny.
Lower third will be ready when needed.
Noted. Carry on, Mr. Espinosa.
$51.
This is actually a really good number for this game because I think that between the two teams, they averaged just a shade over 54 combined throughout the regular season.
And
And
the fact
that
Go
was
ahead.
counting in games against some inferior competition as well. Go ahead, you
And
were
the-
going to follow up.
Yeah, because this number opened at about 49.5, moved to 50, barely moved at all, and then the minute it moved to 51, it stuck. And that's been a few days.
I'm going to take the over.
All right. All right, who's next?
I believe it's Harry.
Okay, fine by me. I said I had a bold prediction here. Philadelphia wins.
Okay,
Philadelphia covers the point and a half,
okay.
and we're 2/3 of the way to 51 by halftime.
Okay.
I'm taking the over. I would not be surprised to see this game somewhere along the lines of 21 up at halftime.
I can see that.
Oh no, put that shower on back. Harry, get out of my head.
I think I pretty much said it. It's,
But, however, I'm going to take your ideas and Brian's ideas and fuse them together. This is going to be a scoring fest like we've never seen before. But it's going to be a KC game. By that much.
Well, the amount that they win by is irrelevant with us, right, because of the fact that they're a point and a half dog.
And with that, since it is the consensus and has been, this is only the 4th Super Bowl ever to close with the spread under 2.
Okay, so I feel like you would probably know this, but I don't know if you do without looking. So I will ask, and if you don't know, that is fine. What are the other three?
Patriots Seahawks were 1.5.
That's
And
the
I
game
don't.
that Seattle should have won.
Yes.
It's against the Patriots. I always root against the Patriots. Agreed.
I don't remember the exact other two games offhand, but I think there were both just 1-point spreads.
Well, we'll look those up. We'll have that information for you when we discuss the results of the Superb Bowl next week for our year-end awards show here on BWSR. Mr. Watkins, you wrap us up for these three categories.
Well, I've said it before, and I'm actually going to put my money where my mouth is. So, Harry, I'll be getting with you off air.
Very well.
And for the first time ever, this isn't just going to be coming from me. This is also going to be coming from Mama Watkins herself. Eagles win. Eagles cover.
There, do that.
And
Korean one.
I am going to join everybody in going with the over. I don't think there's going to be a lot of sweat. So you're not going to wait too long, and it's not completely going to be, in essence, you could call this a front door cover or what have you. But I'll get to that when we announce final scores.
It's funny that you say that, Mr. Watkins. 38-28 Philadelphia.
Funny how it's the locals versus the invaders on this one.
Mr. Espinoza, what's your final score?
A wise man once told me, always trust my gut instinct.
Was that a certain Manhattanian?
No.
Someone from, shall we say, another life previous?
Yes. The first thing that came into my head thinking about this game was 34-31.
Mm-hmm.
So, rather than try to overanalyze it in my head and everything, I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be a shootout, and it's going to be 34-31.
Who's next?
I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Mr. Watkins.
I said that you wouldn't be sweating too much when it comes to this for the over. Of course, it's not going to happen. Halftime, third quarter, you may feel a little bit nervous, but by the time the fourth quarter starts and you're really getting lubed up, you'll be okay. But I think just like these past couple of games, the Eagles have a little bit extra and salted away, though this time not quite as late. 41-31.
Watkins going with the 72 bone. Wow. Mr. Nielsen.
Hold on to your scoreboard rockets. Chiron, please.
Wait.
This ain't holding up well under scrutiny.
Uh-oh.
Because you see,
I just want to point out.
This is going to be a metric ton shootout, in my opinion. 51, please. We're going to score Gami territory, I fear. Give me 51 for the winning team alone to 47.
Definitely won't hold up well under scrutiny.
Offense going to be all day long.
Flag. Definite flag.
Excessive scoring.
And yes, I did account for my 2 points of safety in there.
Not Madden 23. Automatic first down, half the distance to the goal.
You say you go big or go home here. I'm going big. because my homer's not in it.
After conversation with the referees, this flag stands. Excessive scoring. Yeah, this flag will stand 10 yards. Fourth down.
No. Half the distance to the goal.
Back to it, gentlemen. We still have 2 categories to get to. I'd like to get to them within the 2-hour mark. 2 things left here. One of which is one of the most bet on prop bets in the NFL season. The Super Bowl MVP.
Is it
Mr. Nelson, you picked Kansas City. I assume.
Is it me or is Harry
I
breaking up
assume you were
right now?
going.
A little bit.
All right, let me try this. Is that better?
A little bit better.
A little bit. Good enough.
I'm actually on a little bit of a delay too, and I apologize for that. But what I'm going to say is
Harry Broadhurst is frozen.
Chiefs. I'm Chiefs.
Harry Broadhurst is having technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I think he was trying to alert me in terms of who I think our MVP is. And I, with the Kansas City win, am going with Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe that is probably what he was going with.
And Mr. Broadhurst, who will not be seen, put something into the parlay grid, but then quickly removed it.
That was
might
me.
Be reconsidering.
That was me.
Eric.
Incorrect placing. So my bad.
In that case, turnover on downs to the referee above me.
Yeah, a flag on myself for that one. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Delay of podcast.
Yeah, I've changed position.
That happens. Hey, at least now this time they look a little bit better on the. You got the veterans, and then the invaders, as we're apparently being called.
I think the way that you meant to phrase that is the hosts and the invaders.
So you guys aren't veterans. You're not veteran broadcasters. I'll remember that.
Okay, let's give us a different nickname, because if you're going to go with the old Oakland Invaders of the USFL, I mean, seriously?
I'm more of a schmuck than a veteran.
If Broadhurst is going to give us a nickname, I think it's only fair we get to give you one back, and at least I'm not being an asshole about it. So, you want a flag on the play, I'll give you flag on the play for it, but...
let me throw you back to another show on the network. Rail check? Harry,
yeah, really.
Yes, it's Mahomes. Yes,
I
it's
suspected
Mahomes.
as much.
I passed it to Erik since you were out of commission.
Very well.
For a Philadelphia win, I don't think Hurts is going to do enough in the passing game. And this could be one of those moments a la Julian Edelman being Super Bowl MVP. I will give it to Devontae Smith.
Yeah, see, oh, sorry. It wasn't me next. I'm sorry.
No, it can be
me or him,
Brian. Since he started, Espinoza.
Yeah, I've got the same logic, except the other way around. I think it's going to be Travis Kelce.
You know what's funny? Tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, Miles Sanders.
Okay.
Very interesting.
I can
whose position reigns supreme? Find out on the next Iron Chef. I'll take my monkey.
And now,
Yo,
fine.
Harry Broadhurst is muted tonight.
And I can't
Fucker.
unmute him. There we go.
you know those chips fuck up my internet speed. I was like 30 seconds behind y'all on that monkey. Anywho,
Delay of monkey.
all right. A little bit. My favorite prop bet of them all. This one has always made me laugh. It is one of my favorites of the entire season. And now that it's legal in the state of Ohio, one of the few that I personally am going to throw a couple of dollars down on. What color will the Gatorade shower be for the winning coach? I am personally going with green because Philadelphia. Mr. Watkins, you're with me on the Philadelphia train here. What color do you say the Gatorade is?
Fly, Eagles, fly. Green's a favorite for a reason. I agree.
Mr. Nielsen.
Excessive singing, 5-yard penalty.
A penalty is declined. Harry,
Host.
Harry, I've got a little game to play with you here. Since we're going to be talking game shows a little bit, how would you like to play a quick super match? Blank and blue. To which you would say? Orange.
Incorrect playing of super match, leading the contestant half the distance to the goal, 4th down.
Mr. Espinoza, you close us up for the Superb Owl 2023.
Unfortunately, somebody stole my idea. I had to throw you a flag just for that.
Technically, if it's the Chiefs, wouldn't it be red, though? Because like they have
No,
that
there's
reddish
orange.
color.
There's orange Gatorade.
It's
They're more.
yeah, no, there's orange Gatorade, but the Chiefs' color is more red.
Yeah, but you know how difficult it is to get fruit punch Gatorade in bulk, the bulk powder.
That's fair.
It is not a common because fruit punch is my favorite, and it is not a common bulk powder athletic Gatorade flavor.
Though I think if the Chiefs wanted it in bulk, they could make it happen.
Actually, I think it comes down to the facility. Actually, no, it would come down to the team on that. So yeah,
probably team managers.
Yeah, equipment managers.
With the facility, the Cardinals' primary color is red, so also feasible.
I think, and I'm going up to a statement that may or may not hold up well under scrutiny, which I would like to point out, just for the record, this started on League of Legends on Parallel Convergence, and I think is probably the most used Chiron outside of the gimmick infringements on all network shows. I just want to say that. You're welcome for my contribution. I think it's going to be blue.
Give that man a monkey.
Wait, we're on the orange and blue? I'm okay with this.
I'm going to say blue because they're going to go for the orange cooler, accidentally grab the blue one, and it's blue.
Same drink is same for team? I don't think they have different flavors of Gatorade on the sideline.
Yes, they do.
You know what? I can't even throw a flag at that. So
Watch
carry
some of the
on.
videos on like stadium prep that NFL and the teams have released.
Well, I mean, I guess
Some of the guys, some of the players actually have special Gatorade bottles that are filled with like the weirdest shit, like pickle juice.
Because
I know
Pickle
the reason.
juice, he
I
said.
know the reason for pickle juice.
pickle juice is good. Pickle juice is good for cramps.
It's actually also good for rapid rehydration because of all the electrolytes in the pickle juice.
Hence cramps.
I like pickle juice personally.
Mentioned in the NFL Films video they released on YouTube about extreme weather games, and when it gets in that 100+ category, the pickle juice game. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you.
Some guys do that shit all year round, though. So, but yeah, I legitimately think they're gonna go for orange on the side of Kansas City, but they're gonna grab the wrong freaking cooler and blue.
Man, they doused Andy Reid. He might never recover. Anyways, gentlemen.
Give him a burger. He'll be okay. Let's be fine with a cheeseburger.
Get out! No! Flag on the play. You are not allowed to be in the referee's head, okay? No!
Hey, and
What
if
about
he
me?
wins,
What about me?
But if he does win, it'll be a cheeseburger in paradise.
At the Andesian.
No. That's your penalty right there. Ejection.
Wait, that looks
Show.
like a drop zone.
Anyways. See, I can't do this when I'm on this side because it's weird to me. At the Andesian, at JTN 2002, at Squid Sportshead. I'm at HEB the Eagle. Hate mail to HEBTheEagle@yahoo.com. You can find the network itself, twitch.tv/not-a-network-pods, twitter.com/not-a-network-pods, youtube.com/@not-a-network-pods. Hey, I got through all of them without fucking it up. Woo! Go me. All right. I'm not even going to try to point. I'm not even going to try to point here because, again, I'm in an awkward angle and I'm not sure how this is going to go. For Brian Espinoza and Jonathan Nielsen joining us for the Superb Owl, for the DSDO and the HNIC of the NANP and Erik Watkins, I am the voice of reason, allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. You have been listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network. We'll see you in 7 for our year-end awards. Take care, everybody.
Life is like a game show coming up next over most of these Not a Network affiliates.
What he said. We're out of here. See ya.
You have been listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report. Sports in black and white. A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network. Available over most streaming services. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.